It works. Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Zone TV. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and sorry for the mix-up. I don't know what happened, but anyway, we'll be on that. So I want to welcome everybody to the live show tonight. Thanks so much for being here. And if any of you are new to the show, if you would please subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And please don't forget to give the show a like. So tonight we are honored to have back on the show Dr. Bruce Rapuano. He's a scientist, an alien abductee, and author of Dominion Lost, a scientist's own alien abduction encounters. Now, there are two editions, the full version, which has 426 pages, and the abridged version, which has 188 pages. And these books both can be purchased on Amazon. I'm telling you, I recommend them. The first one is more on his abduction, which was fascinating. And the second one that I just finished reading, which we're taking topics from that book tonight, is unbelievable. If you ever wanted to know about UFOs, just about any topic on the UFOs is in that book. And I'm just fascinated with it. I learned so much from that book. It's crazy. Now tonight we have topics, but we only have an hour show with the doctor. So I picked out some topics I thought that you would be interested in, because I never thought, I just thought, okay, a UFO. But God, think about it. How are they getting in and out of our atmosphere? How are they made? How are they not detected? Why do they illuminate? So those are our questions for tonight for the doctor. So let me just tell you a little bit more. This is a bombshell nonfiction book. It is the only first-person account to date of UFO alien abductions, authored by a mainstream American scientist. Dr. Rapuano, who has multiple degrees in neuroscience, goes on the record regarding his incredible and fascinating experiences with UFO close encounters, including a very close encounter, which he was abducted from a group of 8 other witnesses. Now, mind you, he was in a circle with his friends. There were 8 of them. The UFO came down, and guess who they picked? They picked Dr. Rapuano. Why Dr. Rapuano? Out of all those 8 kids, why him? His interactions with alien beings and unexplained nasal implant of specific structure of all which were consciously recalled without regression hypnosis, and his own interactions with highly advanced alien beings. More importantly, this is a wake-up call to our species to finally accept the reality that we are now sharing our world with technologically superior alien beings. So with that, let's welcome Dr. Rapuano to the show.
Hi, Norene. Great to be with you again.
Oh, it's my
Paranormal Zone TV.
Oh,
Finally.
yes, thank you,
We made
thank
it
you.
happen.
I know. After what? How many years ago did you contact me? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Anyway, I'm so honored to
I
have
talked to
you.
you 3 months ago.
No, but you sent me a message on Paranormal Zone
right.
TV years ago. You said, "Hey, how about me talking about my book?" And then I finally found you, but then I had contacted you. So anyway,
We've finally meet.
I know, and I'm so honored to have you back again. Oh my God,
Thank you.
the 2 books that you have written are absolutely amazing, and the unabridged book, the one with the 426 pages, is unbelievable. The information that you have in that book is absolutely unbelievable. I I never even thought about UFOs. I mean, I said, okay, UFO. But oh my God, when you read your book, this brings up, oh my God, all this information that you are giving us that we would never, I know I never even thought about before. It's crazy. So they need to buy those books. They're fabulous. So I picked out topics from your book, as much as I could get we only have an hour show tonight with the doctor, so Um, I'm hoping we can cover some. We might not be able to take any questions either. So I'm going to start with the doctor. Okay. So now UFOs now are called UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, and I don't know when they changed that, but for tonight's show, I will mostly just talk about the UFOs until we start getting used to the UAPs. Do you know when they changed the name?
Yes, a couple of years ago with I guess Arrow, the ad, advanced uh, all domain anomaly research organization that I guess is part of the Pentagon. They changed it, but I'll tell you, if I don't know if you listened to the congressional hearings in Washington last Tuesday, but George Knapp, the
Yeah,
famous George Knapp,
he
who
was.
hosts Coast to Coast,
Yeah.
used the term UFO during his testimony.
Oh,
He was the
good.
only one during the entire test hearing that used the old-fashioned phrase "unidentified flying object."
I'm
But
glad.
but we have the freedom to use whatever term we want because the your unidentified aerial phenomena is a more broad term encompassing many different types of phenomena. When I think of UFO, I think of a term that describes manufactured objects of unknown origin. But we don't have to get so stuck on these terms.
Okay. Well, so one of the topics I'd like you to talk about are implants. So, what are the implants?
It turns out that when you look at all of the UFO alien abduction investigators that have spoken to by now thousands of witnesses, abductees over the past 30, 40, 50 years. Roughly, believe it or not, 20% of them report that if they can recall the abduction scenario, they're in the presence of strange looking humanoid beings. They're not human, but they're humanoid, and they seem to be in some type of hospital or clinical environment. But 20% of those abductees, like myself, who can remember the abduction, being aboard a UFO, um, report there's some evidence that they've had an implant. They may recall either an implant being inserted while they're on board the UFO, usually on a medical examination table. The implant is inserted into perhaps, let's say, in their head, either behind the ear, inside the ear, underneath the eye, and about half of them who recall these implants report that um, an implant has been inserted inside their nasal cavity, or at the time of the abduction, an implant was removed from the nasal cavity. And the question is, why do so many abductees report having these implants? Um, the late Roger Lear, the podiatrist that published a book about implants, focused mainly on implants in regions of the body other than the head. And he had actually um, reported on some scientific analysis of these implants. But in either case, when we're talking about implants associated with alien abduction, whether they're implants in the head or other parts of the body, the question becomes, what is the purpose of these implants? We really
Right.
don't know.
Oh, you
There's been a lot
don't?
of speculation, and I do a lot of educated speculation on what their purpose is in my book.
Um, yeah. So, uh,
Are they
oh,
tracking devices?
yeah.
Or are there other purposes for these implants? When human biologists study animals in the wild, and their migration patterns and their feeding habits, and they want to track them over many miles, they'll they'll install implants that can send a radio signal, so they always know where the animal is, that is a subject of scientific investigation. And so when they need to collect samples, biological biological specimens, skin samples, hair samples, from the animals that are being studied, they know right where to go because they're tracking the animals 24/7. But what I talk about in my book is that it's very likely there's not such a simple explanation for why alien beings traveling from a civilization millions or tens of millions of uh, miles or thousands of light years from Earth are coming here to study us and implanting us with devices simply for the purposes of tracking where we're going on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
So I think there has to be something else going on uh, with respect to the alien agenda that would explain the reason for these implants.
So are they detectable?
Uh, they're detectable by imaging, CT scan, MRI. A lot of neuroimaging studies have shown that abductees have objects in their brains that are probably metallic in composition.
Oh.
Um, Surprisingly enough, the people that have gone to doctors, gone to hospitals because they think they have implants and have had the imaging done,
Hmm.
in almost every case, they have not opted for having them removed surgically because their doctors have advised them there's no medical hazard that they can identify associated with having the implant inside them, and of course the I guess the risk kind of outweigh of having the surgery to
Hmm.
remove the implant kind of outweighs the benefit.
Do you think any of these people that did have the implant extracted may have turned it over to a scientist or the government so they can study it?
It's happened a number of times. As I point out in my book, a number of investigators, Dr. John Mack, Dr. David Jacobs, Whitley Strieber, among others, have reported that abductees have come forward to them in the case of the nasal implants, where maybe the person suspects they're an alien abduction. They've had UFO close encounters. They might have seen alien beings on board a UFO or perhaps inside their home. And they, as a result of maybe blowing their nose too hard or spontaneously, implants have become dislodged from the nasal cavity,
Oh.
and they brought them to investigators, and a number of them have submitted them those implants, which are usually metallic in origin, in composition, um, or they may be made of carbon or silicon carbide. They've submitted them for scientific analysis, and some studies have been done on what these implants are made of. So the investigators have received some of these implants, but have still not determined the functionality associated with any of the implants.
So do,
Um, Whether or not they have, in one case, one investigator has evidence that part of the implant contains a radio transmitter. But beyond that, very few, there's very little, I should say, scientific evidence uh, that's emerged from the study of these implants, other than some strange radioisotope ratios that we don't really find in manufactured materials or metals here on Earth. But beyond that, very little in terms of evidence, quote unquote, of an alien origin.
really? Well, now this material that they use, it's material that they have. How does somebody's body um, that they don't reject that implant? I mean, the materials they use and would have to be able to go into a human body. Do they know what the right materials to use so they can implant it without rejection?
Well, in a number of cases, and I talk about this particular case in the book, um, a young abductee, and she was very young, either 6 to 8 years old. Apparently, several of these implants were dislodged from her nasal cavity, and uh, they consisted of an alloy of gold and silver,
Mhm.
which are essentially biocompatible. They don't really, uh, generate any type of severe reaction, inflammatory reaction. They're able to be tolerated inside the body, and there are other materials that may be of different composition that apparently have been not rejected, and in some cases, and I mentioned the work of Dr. Lear, not only have they not been rejected, but normal tissues inside the body, like connective tissue, or even in one case, nerve tissue, is been demonstrated to be attached to the implant, suggesting that not only is the implant material for some reason biocompatible, but it actually forms connections with normal human tissues after implantation. And that's certainly a question that's worthy of scientific investigation, and certainly something that I would be interested in finding an answer to. But we really don't know at this point.
All right, so our next topic or subject is how UFOs work, the propulsion system. Oh, yeah.
Well, they work very differently from the way our aircraft and spacecraft work. But all of the aerodynamic, all of the aircraft with aerodynamic surfaces like jet fighter jets and commercial airlines follow the Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The commercial airline may generate thrust behind it from its wind turbine engines that push on the atmosphere, and in return, the atmosphere pushes back and pushes the aircraft forward. That's not how the UFOs work. It appears that the only way they could work is not for the UFO to undergo any type of acceleration, because they move at such high velocity. Any acceleration would be so great as to cause great bodily harm to the occupants, or even cause the aircraft to break apart. So the explanation is that they're not moving through space by accelerating, they're actually affecting space-time. In other words, they have some type of a electromagnetic or gravity drive that's able to direct gravitational energy in front of the spacecraft, um, and causing it to contract in front of the craft, so that they're not traveling to a point in space; they're bringing that point in space time closer to the
Oh
craft.
my
So
God.
the result is the craft itself and the occupants are not subject to any forces of acceleration, and not only that, they have the capacity, using what I'm calling a gravity drive or warp drive. If you've watched the old time TV series Star Trek, that's able to travel almost instantaneously, not only within the Earth atmosphere, but theoretically light years at a time, thousands, millions of miles at a time, theoretically, by changing the shape, by curving space time, so that the distance between 2 points, if you is now decreased by the fact that space time is being curved by the gravitational energy, so it loops up. So now, instead of going from here to here, you only have to travel from here to here, because the gravity drive is within Einstein's general relativity, causing a severe curvature in space-time. That's it in a nutshell. Now, how human scientists could create such a propulsion system would require a tremendous amount of energy and a tremendous amount of gravitational energy. They would have to have a system of manufacturing, of generating gravity. That's an open question as to whether or not human science has been able to, after getting their hands on the UFOs that allegedly crashed at Roswell in 1947, whether or not they in fact have been able to successfully re-engineer their propulsion system so they can build something, and they call them alien reproduction vehicles, that have the same performance characteristics, where they can bend space-time and travel wherever they want to go instantaneously, using the propulsion system that's been reverse engineered from the alien system. That's
Wow.
an open question as to whether or not we've been able to do that.
Well, they could be doing that, and we just don't know about it. I'm sure. Why wouldn't they?
They certainly they that American, or I should say international science, could not have done that 50 or 60 years ago. And I
Mm-mm.
still think it's quite unlikely, although not impossible, that even after a half a century of study, even if they did have, as Bob Lazar claims to have witnessed, not only the crashed UFO, but components of the alien propulsion system in a laboratory, it's still very unlikely, although not impossible, that even today they will human scientists would have been able to reproduce that, to re-engineer it, reverse engineer it, I should say, and construct such a propulsion system in a laboratory, and then build a duplicate alien reproduction vehicle that, as I say, has the same capabilities as the alien spacecraft apparently do.
Can
Not
they?
impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely.
Wow. Can they travel faster than the speed of light?
Well, they're not traveling. They're not moving. Remember, Einstein's theory of
Yeah.
special relativity has the central tenet: nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. So it's kind of a red herring. They're not traveling faster than the speed of light, but they're able to apparently go faster than light can travel by cheating, by reducing the distance between points A and B, so that they appear to travel faster than the speed of light when they're really not, because they're not accelerating to light speed. In fact, the craft is not accelerating at all. It's space, it's the shape of space time that's changing.
Oh God.
So
Uh,
the answer is no, they can't
so how can
go
they
faster than
how
light.
can they hoover over land, buildings, and also not get detected?
So the first question: how can they hover motionless?
Yes.
So the craft must, according to this theory of how a gravity drive would work, there really was such a thing, um, it would, of course, to be able to move forward in space time, it would have to generate what's referred to as positive gravitational energy to contract or compress space time ahead of where the
Hmm.
craft would like to go. But also, for the craft to be able to generate that type of effect on space-time, it also must be able to do the opposite: generate anti-gravity that would have a repulsive effect on space-time. It's also called negative energy. So instead of attracting space-time, would repulse it and have this anti-gravity effect that would tend to oppose the effect of Earth's gravity and allow it to be oblivious or insensitive or not be affected by the effect of Earth's gravity on space-time, and that would allow the craft to maintain maintain um, a distance from the Earth without being affected by its gravity, because it can generate anti-gravity. Now, the second question is, why don't we see them? And I think we have a lot of video of
Well, they
that's been
can't. How they
gathered
can't?
over the decades.
Can they be detected through
They
like
they
what?
they 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 probably are difficult to detect if they're moving in a way that would suggest they're capable of instantaneous acceleration. So during their travel from point A to point B in our atmosphere, let's say, it would be difficult for any type of um, instrumentation to be able to detect that movement. If they're motionless, That's another question. Now, another issue is the ability of the UFOs, whether they're moving or whether they're motionless, it doesn't matter, to cloak themselves.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
understand a lot about this because there's been a field of scientific discipline known as transformation optics that's led to the development of stealth technology, uh, development of materials that can evade radar, that can not um, be insensitive or not be able to generate a radar signal um, because of the way the material reflects microwave radiation. And in addition, uh, these craft likely are made of materials that not only can evade radar, not be seen on radar, but also can not only reflect light, but bend it in a way so that they're able to curl the light from behind the craft in front of it, so that what we see is the atmosphere, the stars behind the craft, but the craft itself can be invisible. And this is called cloaking. And there's been some talk that, at least in this country, the development of stealth technology has been able to create materials that are used on the surface of aircraft, our fighter aircraft, not only to make them invisible on radar, but invisible to the human eye as well. So I would think, without a doubt, that the alien um, UFOs are composed, at least on their surface, of these types of metamaterials that can render them invisible to radar, to the human eye. Now, the other way that they may be made visible is infrared. In the past 10 or 20 years, our fighter aircraft have been outfitted with a new technology known as forward-looking infrared um, cameras that can see the thermal image of the UFO, and they've generated some very interesting evidence showing that even UFOs that couldn't be seen by the pilots, could not be detected on radar, could be viewed on this forward-looking infrared camera.
Mm.
Very interesting images showing that the interior of the UFO is hot. It has a thermal image, an infrared image that would indicate fairly high temperature. But outside in the atmosphere immediately surrounding the UFO is much colder for some strange reason, suggesting that there may be effect of the UFO's propulsion system generating a gravitational energy that affects space time around the craft, which is causing these weird thermal imaging effects. But as far as I know, those are the only technologies that are used today to be able to detect UFO, what I'm thinking of as alien UFOs, not the ones that we might be able to make. Those are the only technologies that can detect the alien UFOs when they're in our atmosphere. When they're outside of our atmosphere and in deep space, that's another question.
How come they
And
have
I
no?
would refer you to Dr. Avi
Oh,
Loeb at Harvard, the astronomer who is gathered a number of scientists with his Galileo Foundation that's finding um, um, was using instrumentation, some of which he's developed and refined, to try to detect the UFOs while they're in deep space before they're they're even close to being in our atmosphere. And so I would refer you to his work,
hmm,
Dr. Loeb.
okay. How come they have no sound? They make no sound.
Say that again.
How come
Pardon me.
UFOs make no sound?
Oh, again, the means of propulsion. When you're using standard classical physics, Newtonian physics, third law of motion, for every action there's an equal opposite reaction. All of the aircraft that we use in the atmosphere are displacing air, causing shock waves that cause um, sound waves, which is responsible for the sonic boom when an aircraft exceeds the speed of sound. But again, these UFOs that use gravity propulsion or warp drive propulsion are not going from point A to point B, would not have any uh, a capacity to cause these sonic booms because they're not traveling within a distance. They're actually contracting that distance. So the space, the point in time where they want to go to, comes closer to the craft rather than the craft having to travel to that point in space.
I think you did touch a little bit on this because I was going to have you talk about the UFO luminosity, how there's a glow around these crafts. And so how is that happening?
The interesting thing is you can see this effect, and not only that, get some insight into the possible mechanism from some of the videos that have been taken over the past 5 to 10 years. Now, what I believe accounts for this luminosity is the fact that the propulsion system has to be based on electromagnetic fields, generating electromagnetic energy, or gravitational energy. In both cases, there would be effect on the atmospheric gases surrounding the UFO that would cause them to ionize and cause what's called plasma. Ionized gases are called plasma, which is what we see when we see lightning. And so what you can see in some of these videos is when the craft is motionless. Let's say that the video captures a uh, an oval or lenticular or saucer shaped UFO, motionless at 5, 10, 15,000 feet. You can see the craft become illuminated, go from being a disc shaped object that's metallic looking in composition, suddenly become a bright light.
Mm-hmm.
And within less than a second, it zooms off
Mm-hmm.
so rapidly that it's gone. It's completely gone from the atmosphere. And
Mm-hmm.
what I think is happening is the craft is that was motionless is engaging its gravity drive, which is automatically causing these electromagnetic effects, causing the ionization of the atmospheric gases, creating the plasma that causes luminosity right before it's going to zoom off to maybe a point in space dozens or hundreds or thousands of miles away almost instantaneously.
Now, the thing is,
So I think it's a side effect of the energy that's generated by the propulsion system of the UFO that's causing them to uh, generate so much light, or appear to generate so much light,
but
which is actually light in the atmosphere around it.
okay, so they're they have shown different space UFO crafts, and they change color, or there's like a probe or a glow, or they pulsate. So why? I I'm thinking that when you see a craft that has different lights like red and green, I've seen with the red and green, and one that is just all like white, they might be two different kind of crafts.
You'll see the same craft go through a metamorphosis or a transformation. I talk about it in the book. The one I saw where I had the close encounter where uh, I was abducted from a group of 8 or 9 people. And the first thing I saw was a tremendously brilliant light. It was 2 to 3 times the size of the full moon.
Hmm.
And I think this is my concept is this is an atmospheric effect and caused by the power system or the propulsion system of the craft. And then in an instant, almost too quick to be able for the human eye to see, the light went off and I could see a red fireball. And
Oh
that
yeah.
particular pattern, at least from my recollection, uh, from reports in the 1960s and 70s, has been repeated countless times. So many of these UFO reports have had immediately turned off and was replaced by this red fireball type object. And what I noticed was the object was motionless in the form of the bright light, and when the light turned off to transform into the fireball, the red fireball, then it began to move. That was the sighting that I described in the book. And incidentally, to speak of how, again, to get to this um, part of the phenomenon where one apparent object or craft or UFO or UAP, whatever you want to call it, exhibits different looks to it, or seems to transform from one object into another. In the sighting I just described to you, I described a bright light that looked like a very large star. I call it the biblical star of Bethlehem, transformed into a red fireball. Another witness to the sighting that I described saw three multicolored lights
Mm-hmm.
around the same object. So,
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay. So it had this bright light around it, but
yes,
then they admitted then they had the colored lights as well on the same craft?
yes, and
Oh.
here is the strangest part of the entire encounter sighting. I did not see the three colored light, and I have better than 20/20 vision. I was the first to see the UFO, the last to see it, the last in the group to see it disappear over the horizon as it traveled in a southwest direction away from us. I never saw the three lights in a triangular
Oh.
formation of different colors, which is another piece of evidence that I was not present for part of the UFO sighting because I was taken. But it's the issue you're talking about is been very commonly reported because many UFOs seem to transform in their appearance, and it's an open question as to what is causing this, whether or not they can change their shape by changing the shape of the actual craft, if you assume it's a metallic composition, or whether or not it's a side effect of the propulsion system that's causing the illusion that the craft is changing in appearance. And the three lights, I don't know whether or not those lights or the configuration of the lights is related to the power system or gravitational system, or whether they're just normal lights that you would find on any craft, so that other um, alien or human uh, aircraft in the area can see them. I don't know what the purpose of, of the of the three lights in that are in the form of a triangle would be. But again, it's a very common pattern
Hmm.
in UFO sightings.
I've actually seen two UFOs. And
Mm-hmm.
one was with the red, white, and green light, and it hovered right over us, and it wasn't going anywhere. And we were all looking at it like, how can it stand still? How come it's not moving? And then it moved, and then it kind of went backwards, and then it went away. And then another time, this UFO, because we were 4,000 elevation at my sister's cabin, and right
Mm-hmm.
over us was this. We saw it. We all, because we were on purpose that night. We were said, let's sit here and look at the sky, and sure enough, this big, huge ball of light, but it was more like a cigar shape, and it was over us. And it was, and I swear to God, it looked like it was looking at us because we were looking up and go, oh my God, look, it's right there, it's right there. And then it stayed there, and then it went zigzag, and then it flew off. And we thought that was the end of it. Oh no, it came back. It came back again on top of us, stayed for a little bit, zigzagged, and went off the in another direction. Now I have a question about this. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that these spacecrafts and with their lights that they are intelligent and responsive?
Are you asking me if I think the spacecraft have a consciousness?
If you're sitting there and you're looking at it and you're talking to it, is it responding to you?
I think I would say yes. The only question in my mind is the communication between human beings on the ground and biological alien beings inside the UFO, or is it communication with a highly advanced artificial intelligence that is operating the UFO? In either case, there's some type of communication involved where witnesses claim that either they have the sense that they should walk outside their house and go to a certain area, or they hear of someone else's voice telling them, go to this location and you will see a UFO or you will see us. They do that, and sure enough, the UFO shows up at that
Yes.
point. Now, that I'm very curious about what the mechanism for that form of what I call telepathic communication would be. Is it something that's done remotely, like remote viewing? There are people in the military that have the capacity to remotely view things that are going on thousands of miles away. Is that an innate capability of alien beings, or does it require some intervening technology, like an implant, or perhaps a um, technological instrumentation on board the UFO that is able to establish this type of communication, what I call brain to brain, mind to mind communication, whether or not that's direct or whether or not, the question I pose is, does it require some intervening technology like a computer brain interface or a brain computer interface, or is it something that can be an, attributable to an aspect of human consciousness and alien consciousness, where we can just communicate over vast distances um, by some mechanism that human science has not uh, discovered yet.
Well, I did a show last year with this woman. I can't remember her name. That's all she does is investigate UFOs and writes about them. And she goes with this other fella who writes books and he's you would know him, but I can't remember his name.
Preston
Uh,
Dennett?
I can't remember. He goes to. They're the ones
Okay.
that found. It was in some desert. They found one of the UFOs that they were looking for, and he found it. Well, she went with him, and he told her. He said, I can." He said, "Come with me, and I'll show you. I can contact a UFO. There's a certain area that he goes to." So they sat there. It was late at night, and he said, "You wait. The UFO will come. I'm going to call it." And honest to God, he has it on tape. It came. It came to him. So that's what I was curious about.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm so curious as to what is the mechanism of that. You may be aware of um, some of the whistleblowers from the military that have come forward to testify before Congress, claiming that they were able to do the very same thing. Whether or not they had developed some remote viewing ability, or some of these military officers, not all of them, had developed this capability. They were able to at will, um, what's the word? Retrieve these UFOs. In other words, they would be able to um, consciously seek the UFO to approach the area, not only approach them wherever they were, but to actually compel the UFO to land. There were UFO retrieval teams that work with these quote unquote remote viewers. So whenever they called in these UFOs, induced them to land, they were taken away by helicopter for observation and study. So one or two military whistleblowers have come forward with information about such programs. And the question I have is, how are they able to do this? Did the military develop um, technology so that this particular capability is is actually assisted by some type of technology, or do some of the soldiers have this innate ability to be able to communicate with the UFO, to bring them in and cause them to land?
Yeah. Now, I had other questions on this luminosity, but you already answered them. So,
Okay.
okay, now, what was the shape of your craft that you were taken in?
The only thing, as I saw, the only thing I described in the book is that from the external appearance was was um, you know, transformed, I think, from uh, among three or four different um, forms. It looked like a biblical star of Bethlehem, and then a red fireball with kind of, I call it static electricity or lightning around it that I didn't see, that someone else saw. And then, of course, the fourth form was the triangular formation of three lights of different colors. But in terms of the interior of the UFO, I know you're very curious about that, and I can't really be more helpful to you in answering that question, other than to say that when I was inside, all I could see was the exam table I was on. The room, I don't remember what the walls looked like. The small room I was in, the hallway outside that was separated by what I would call an open garage door type of entrance. I don't know if there was a door that had recessed into the ceiling, but it was open. It looked like the frame of a garage door.
Oh.
And I could see alien beings walking back and forth in what looked like a hallway outside the room I was in. Other than that, I mean, I had the sense that there were many other rooms like the room I was in, making me think that there were other abductees on board at the same time I was there.
Hmm.
I I can't I can't recall any other details about the internal structure of the interior of the UFO that that I remember being on. So I know you've expressed some frustration that
Yeah.
other abductees have not been able
No.
to provide much more information than that.
They never talk about it. They never
Right,
talk about, um, but a lot of them have been hypnotized.
right.
But they never ask that. I need to contact some of those UF abductees that were on the show, and I want to ask them in their when they were hypnotized, were they able to? Because they never talk about it on the shows. They never talked about it. That I would love to find out. What
Great question. Great question. Yes.
is it clean?
You
Is
know,
it sterile?
I'm glad you said that, because there have been a lot of hypnotic regressions done, and I'm almost as frustrated as you are, even with the information that's emerged from the regressive hypnosis sessions. There are some details that they've been able to remember about the interior of the UFO, but not much more than you've heard that abductees have consciously remembered without regressive hypnosis. Um, some have mentioned some of the instrumentation that was used during the examination of the abductee, what look devices that look something like a computer, or some um, some of the surgical tools that were used for the during the examination. But in terms of the, one or two cases, there were instruments in the ceiling that you might think, from the way the abductee described it, were involved in um, the abduction examination or procedure that was performed on the abductee. But either it looked like a light, it looked like some type of a light you would see in a hospital operating room,
Hmm.
or it also had some type of um, surgical instrument
Mm.
that extended from the device that came from the ceiling. But other than that, I recall very few details about what the inside of UFO looked like to an abductee that was on an exam table they may or may not have been in the middle of some type of procedure, surgical procedure. So I share your frustration.
I have another question. Okay, so UFOs can light up the ground. Okay, they can cast light down. So all these
Right.
pictures they have with the disc-shaped UFO with the light going down and people being beamed up, is that for real?
They have exterior lights, right, that seem to be directed toward the abductee. I don't know what the nature of the energy is because on a number of occasions, and I mentioned one of the most famous ones, the Travis Walton case. Um, it the for lack of a better term, the energy beam when it was directed at him caused him to be flown back in the air 10 or 15 feet. Um, in one or two cases, I can recall an abductee claiming they were on the ground, there was a UFO overhead, they were about to be taken, and they were lifted up off the ground, floated up to the UFO while they were surrounded by some type of light or, you know, I'm speculating again, what I call some type of energy beam. But more often than not, they don't see any evidence of what you would think of as an energy or tractor beam of some type of energy that is would account for how the abductee is being lifted up, floated up against gravity into the hovering UFO. That's kind of something that's not really commonly reported.
Okay, so we talked about the illumination of the different crafts, and they seem to be they seem to be different shapes. So there is a variety of these crafts. Now, they talk about the disc, they talk about the cylinder, the triangle, an orb sphere. And they also, I read, yeah, there's an aircraft like shape that looks like ours, but it's not our ship. Do you know anything about that?
In this modern era, and when I say modern era, I mean the past 20 years of UFO, UAP sightings, these different configurations have emerged. I mean, I like to look at the context going back 50, 60, 70 years. After World War II, the most common UFOs were saucer shaped or cigar
Yeah.
shaped. And then and then you remember the Foo Fighters during World War II, they were red fireballs like the one I saw. And then in the um, 70s and 80s, there were a lot of sightings of the triangular shaped UFOs that could hover motionless and that could accelerate quite rapidly away. They have the three lights, one at each corner, and then one of different color and one white light in the center. Referring to the sightings, in particular in Belgium, and then Hudson Valley, New York, uh, and then those were the most common configurations. And then in the past 10 or 20 years now, there have been many reports of these orbs. I don't have a sense of their size, um, and very unusual, unpredictable shapes that you wouldn't associate with a UFO or any kind of aircraft. Cube shaped UFOs, pyramid shaped UFOs, and
Wow.
it's the only layer that I would add to this is based on the possibility that some of these that have configurations we didn't see at the dawn of this modern era of UFOs back in the 50s and 60s would be attributable to human origin. Perhaps these are in fact alien reproduction vehicles that one or more America and perhaps other foreign nations have been able to, because these strange, in particular, pyramid shaped or triangular shaped UFOs have been sighted in not only over the Pentagon but over Moscow, over the in Moscow. I forget exactly where the sighting was. So are these alien? in origin, or are
Mhm.
they human?
Right.
Are they human, manufactured by human scientists, or by human militaries? Um, the strange thing about the orbs is the sightings of the orbs seem to be very um, fairly well correlated with some type of interaction or communication between the witness and the orb, or
Intelligent.
there's the sense that the orbs are alive or communicating with
Yeah.
the 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 witness. Seems to be a very common um, aspect to that particular sighting of the orbs. But I mean, when you look at the drones and drones being sighted in the vicinity of the orbs, I don't know. I'm not really sure how how to ascertain what is the origin of the drones versus the orbs. Are we looking at alien UFOs or UAPs that are being observed or under surveillance by human drones? Your guess is as good as mine.
So with the different types of crafts, uh, uh, each one probably, like we were talking about, serve a purpose. Uh, and as well, their
Possibly,
technology wouldn't
possibly,
be the
yes.
same as another craft. So, and so so they're all they're different. Okay, do you
Yes.
think where are they coming from?
Well, I mean, you offered one possible explanation that they're some are, you know, limited purpose surveillance. Some are used for abducting people, and they're the motherships that are maybe have.
Uh-oh. Oh no. I think he was having problems with his internet. Hold on. Come back. He'll come back. Come back. Come back. Oh, I hope everything's okay. Hey, Chip and Cassandra, did Tallcross make it back? Oh, there he is. Okay. Okay. Come on. Okay. So I don't. Oh, here he comes.
I'm back.
Yeah. I knew you'd come back. Okay.
I'm
So,
going to get right into answering your question.
okay.
You touched on a very distinct possibility of the different purposes of the UFOs. I think I mentioned some maybe drones for surveillance. Um, Others may be involved in the abduction phenomenon. They're larger craft that may have a broader range of purposes. But the other possibility is, and I have to really rely on the work of numerous investigators that have gained a lot of evidence. So we're not just dealing with the grays. There are multiple advanced alien civilizations that are visiting the Earth, multiple species that look very different from one another. Some are humanoids, some are not humanoids. Some are reptilians. Some look more like insects. And I would expect that if they're all traveling here from points unknown in our contiguous universe, or even from different dimensions within our universe, they're all using spacecraft of different designs, different propulsion systems, perhaps. They may be similar, but I would expect them all to look different from one another. I know that Dr. Stephen Greer, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, claims that there are more than 60 advanced civilizations that have visited the Earth in the modern during the modern era of UFO sightings. So those are the two I think um, most likely explanations. Different functions account for the different craft, or the fact that they have different origins from different parts of the universe
Now,
or different dimensions.
What about the UFO debris, crash debris? Uh, what kind of, so from the debris that they've gotten, and this is what I heard, and I want you to tell me if it's correct or not, that some of the debris that was found could have been all crushed up, and then it goes right back to its original form. Is that true?
That's true. And that was, I think, one of the first observations of the first people to look at the debris from the crash at Roswell in July 1947. That there was this memory metal. I think the rancher that I think might have mentioned that he saw that he was the first to see the debris. Of course, the intelligence officer that was assigned to the case, Jesse Marcel, the Army intelligence officer, um, has come forward with his recollection that there was this type of material, metallic. It almost had no weight, but could be um, hardly feel it was there, but you could crush it, and then it would, when you release the pressure, would resume its shape. And I think that the most striking information that's come from that Roswell crash is the fact that um, Lieutenant Colonel Philip Corso, who published the day after Roswell, claims that all this debris and whatever was left of whatever was left intact in the UFO after the crash was sent to Wright Field in Ohio for study, and they were able to take pieces of the debris. Not, I'm not privy to what the elemental composition of some of those pieces were, but they were sent out to different laboratories, different universities, different private companies for study, and they were able to generate fiber optic technology, um, integrated circuit technology, um, night vision, night vision technology, and a variety of technologies from the material that was among the debris from the crash at Roswell. I don't think anyone has come forward with firsthand testimony or published any books describing the results of scientific analysis of the composition of the debris, whether it was metallic, whether it was something was whether or not represented material that was not present naturally on Earth, could not be manufactured on Earth. Um, Other than the fact that there have been a number of reports that some of the debris contained an an aluminum that was so pure that it could not be found on Earth, 99.99% pure, and certainly no manufacturing process can make aluminum that pure. Other than that, there are some materials that contain um, alloys of different elements, bismuth. I'm trying to remember, but very intricately layered um, materials of different elements, different metals that really were not, that we don't really find a parallel for in any normal human material manufacturing process. But other than that, the only thing we have is the anecdotal information that from the material, technologies have emerged. But in terms of, whether or not there's evidence that the materials themselves, in terms of what they're made of, constitute proof that they came from someplace outside this planet, I don't think um, any evidence has been obtained that can conclusively prove that.
Now, before the show, I was talking to you about the building or the construction of the spacecraft, how it had no ribbons and blah blah. So why don't you talk about that? And then you said you want to remind you that you wanted to talk about something when we talk about the spacecraft, the construction of it. So go ahead.
We, I think both of us have to remember that one. The last point.
I can't remember.
Maybe it'll come to me.
Okay, so talk.
Maybe it'll come to me.
Yeah,
But
so talk.
I don't. As I told you, it's a fascinating question. The first question. I don't have anything in the book or any independent research that I've done on my own to explain why. Explain the reports that claim that the vehicles that have been recovered, perhaps studied and attempts made to reverse engineer them at Area 51, claim that neither the exterior or the interior of the craft have any bolts, seams, rivets. It, I think one scientist described the UFO that he saw um, as being as looking like something that was manufactured from an injection molding process, where when you can pour a molten liquid metal into a mold and it solidifies and there's no imperfections. It's almost, it's hard to believe that you can make an advanced technology that could do all these things, in terms of the way the UFOs can instantly accelerate and hover and make right angle turns from a single composite, um, that that contain. I should say a single craft that contains no discernible component parts. That's something I find hard to believe and hard and of course impossible to explain. So I don't think anyone has done any type of speculation, educated speculation to explain how, um, you know the the vehicle itself, not the propulsion system, but how the vehicle itself is manufactured.
I know.
Nor have they been able to speculate on what the composition is, assuming it's some type of metal.
It's
I mentioned that some of the debris is aluminum, but what would the surface, and not the surface and the hull and some of the interior parts of the UFO made up is made of, in terms of their elemental composition, is anyone's guess.
it's it's mind blowing. Absolutely mind blowing. All of this information, and there. Oh, it's overwhelming. It really is. Okay, so I know what you wanted to talk about. The government crafts that the crafts that the government has, the spacecrafts that the government has, 8 of them. Do you remember?
I'm I'm imagining that a lot of what we're seeing, especially the past 20 years, not all of it or not most of the UAPs, but some of the UAPs may be ours. They're called alien reproduction vehicles. The Tic Tac UFO. It looks like, it has the configuration of those cigar shaped UFOs that have been, you know, observed all over the world for 50, 60, 70 years. But there's something different about it. The cube shaped UFOs, the pyramid shaped UFOs. You know, it's tempting to speculate that they're not attributable to some new advanced civilization that just found us 5 or 10 years ago, that are different from the civilizations that have been studying us maybe for hundreds or thousands of years. But it's tempting to think that some country has been successful at creating these craft that have anti-gravity capability. They don't have any visible propulsion system. They're silent, motionless, can just sit there 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 30,000 feet above the surface of the Earth, defying its gravity, and then suddenly disappear. But as I said earlier in the show, I'm very skeptical that even today we have that kind of technology. I know they're trying, but I just don't think, frankly, Noreen, they've had any country, or at least let me just talk only about America, has had enough of the top scientists in a number of disciplines working on this problem to get achieved that much success in only a few decades. So although some investigators have claimed this is what accounts for most of the UFOs, and we've had this technology since the 50s or 60s, I'm highly skeptical of that.
This,
I'd like to think that it's happened because I would rather we have it before some of our enemies develop it.
yeah,
But I don't know that is in fact happened.
it's an amazing topic, absolutely amazing. I know we've kept you beyond what you wanted to stay, and I'm really sorry. I'm going to stop here.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much. And listen, everybody, I've got the books posted above Dr. Rapiano's head. They're up there. Those are his books. There, you can get them at Amazon. They are absolutely amazing. There's so much information in the unabridged version, and it's mind blowing. And it was just way too much for us to talk about on this show. And I want to thank you so much. And I'm sorry I kept you over your time. And I really
No problem.
appreciate you being on the show. It's just a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the opportunity and for your great interest in my book and the topic itself. So
Uh,
I I'm sure you'll continue to follow it as we all will.
oh, absolutely. If you write another book, let me know.
I will.
And send me a message. Don't put it on Paranormal Zone TV. Email me.
I certainly will. I
Thank you
certainly
so
will.
much, Dr. Rapiano. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Norene.
Thank you. Good
Great.
night. Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Good night.
Okay.
Oh God, those are his two books right there. They're fascinating. You've got to get them. I was just mind. It would just blew my mind. The first one, the abridged one is let's see. There's one of them, the one with the operating table. That's all about his um, uh, abduction. Absolutely. And he has stories in there. Absolutely. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then the other one is so much scientific technology in there about the UFOs. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. And oh, hang up. You have to hang up. I guess he did. I thank you so much. You have to turn it off. Oh, he's still on there. There he goes. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did, and I just find this whole topic unbelievable. It's just unbelievable when you really think about it. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. I'm doing another show next Thursday with Dave Spinks. He's going to tell us the whole story of the Fox Hollow Mansion and the murders and all the historic information on that place. He stayed there for a week. And he's going to be our guest next Thursday. No, okay. So I'm sorry about the mix up of what happened. I don't know what happened, but I wasn't being recognized by YouTube, so I had to create another URL. And thanks so much for finding me. Um, let's see. I hope you enjoyed the show. I really want to thank you and thank my mods, Terry, and Cassandra, for being here tonight as always. I really appreciate it. And for Tall Cross for being here. Gosh, I'm sorry, it's really late for you tonight. I'm glad you found me. I sent you the URL. Thanks to you for coming here. So let's do some shout outs. Deck Magnet Strange, Catania, Lori Miller, of course, Terry, and Cassandra, Charlotte, Mia A, hello, Lori Miller, Lori Clayton, Andrew and the Gnomes. Oh, good, you came back. I know Christopher was here. I'm glad he came back. Anybody else want to shout out? Shelly Phillips, I haven't seen you for a while, Shelly. Of course, Andrew. Anybody else? Let's see. Um, the Sin Stream. Lolly Tubi. Hi. Okay, anybody else? Let's see what I can see with see, it's small. I'm sorry I couldn't take any questions tonight because he really only could stay for an hour, and I kept him longer because of the issue we had, and I really feel bad about that. I don't know what the hell happened. I really don't. Does anybody else want to shout out? I can't see too well. It's small. Of course, Tall Cross. I'm really sorry. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else I could say, give a shout out to. Mitch, Carla, Bianca, Kensworth. Hello, you're new. Please give the show a like if you enjoyed it, and those who may be new to the show, if you would please subscribe, I'd appreciate that too. Anybody else want to shout out? I can't. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time reading this. It's so small. Anybody else? Oh, Lisa Scarrett. Oh, you made it tonight. Anybody else? So you guys were able to find the show, huh? Even though the other one shut down? That was really nice of you to come back. I went back there to put the URL up, but when I went back, they had it. I couldn't post anything. Anybody else want to shout out? I guess Christopher left already. Anybody else? It's okay. I don't see any new names. Oh, thanks, Tall Cross. Oh, there's Christopher Chris. Okay, you're still here. Okay, guys, thanks so much. It was easy. Oh, okay, great. Oh, great, thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna go now, and again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. Have a great week. Be safe, and I'll see you next Thursday. I'll be back next Thursday. Okay, love you guys. Thank you. Good night.